Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Against all odds, the Dallas Mavericks have been gifted the #1 overall pick, a.k.a. the right to draft Cooper Flagg. Also, the Knicks pulled off another double-digit comeback and are one win away from the Eastern Conference Finals. And could Giannis be on his way out of Milwaukee?
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
Never tell Nico Harrison the odds. The Dallas Mavericks have miraculously landed the #1 pick in the 2025 NBA draft, and by virtue, Cooper Flagg. Locked On Mavs host Nick Angstad shared his thoughts immediately following the improbable news.
A Dallas Mavericks fan, listen to this right now, absolutely deserves to have good things happen in your life after the season the Mavs just went through. After being at the mountaintop of the NBA Finals, having a star to build around, and then all of a sudden, it getting pulled out from under you the next season because of reasons that have not been explained very well or not been explained well enough through multiple press conferences and secret meetings and all kinds of different things, and the way that it was handled afterwards. Mavs fans deserve this in a way that I don't think many other fan bases did. Lots of people are going to be upset about this, that it's happening. We've already seen our friend Bill Simmons with these, come on, F this message on Twitter. We've seen a lot of people respond to this. And for the Mavericks, this is the first time they've moved up ever in the history of the Dallas Mavericks. If there's ever a time for you to believe that the NBA is rigged in any kind of way, to believe that maybe there were some other kind of motivations behind the Luka Doncic trade anyway, to send a star player to the Lakers in any kind of possible way, this is the outcome that would happen. The only one. This is Doctor Strange holding up the one finger in so many different ways. This is Doctor Strange holding up the one that he looked up 14 million different kinds of scenarios that could happen. And this is the one. This is the one that makes it better for Mavericks fans. This is the one that makes it better for the franchise, for the city, makes it better for everybody involved. And there's so many ramifications that we'll unpack throughout the rest of this month, the rest of this year, up until the season starts. We'll talk about it. There's so many different things, but for now, Cooper Flagg will play for the Dallas Mavericks. He's one of the best prospects we've seen since Anthony Davis, Zion. Like, you're talking about a guy this good, that is supposed to be this good. And Isaac, he plays defense.
He does play defense. I think I was very clear on, I thought he was a better prospect than Zion. So, yeah, just coming out at his size, what he can. We get to talk about Cooper Flagg, man. Like, it's so crazy to think about. I mean, we've been doing this podcast long enough. We're the longest running Mavs podcast that's been doing this daily out there. All right. So we've been doing this pod daily since Dennis Smith Jr. draft. We were there for all the Luka draft stuff and Luka draft night. And it just one of those moments that you'll never forget. I mean, this was basically draft night for the Mavs in a way.
Yeah.
And to get a guy like Cooper Flagg it just changes everything. You know, yes. If I get the frustration towards the front office and it's like, dude, this sucks. Like, they don't deserve it. They may, all this stuff. I get all of that. I get the conspiracy theory stuff. I mean, heck, listen to our podcast from yesterday in which we're like joking about the conspiracy theories if Dallas wins it. And that's all that we'll hear about. I get all of that. But if this fan base ever needed this right now, it's right now. Like, these fans, the Mavericks fans in Dallas didn't have anything to do with what happened with the Luka trade and ripping their hearts out and taking your star player away from you. But man, like, what a win. Like, what a win to be able to bring in a new guy, a new stud of a player that is just, I mean, yeah, you want to win now. He helps you win now. You want a defensive team because you believe defense wins championships. He helps you do that. You want a young piece that's going to be here past Kyrie and Anthony Davis. Yes, I believe that. He's going to be that. Like, all of the stuff in one there. And now your fan base can get captivated by a new young star player that can play on the wing too. I'm fascinated by Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis lineups.
Yeah.
It's just, it changes everything.
It changes so much. It changes so many different things. It changes how the Mavs look at their team right now. I think Cooper Flagg makes this team right now. If Kyrie Irving comes back, he's got a player option. Kyrie Irving comes back. Anthony Davis is there. Whenever they're healthy, it helps them right now. Cooper Flagg can help in so many ways on offense as a playmaker. I've speculated that the Mavs, their need for a playmaker kind of goes down a little bit when you get Cooper Flagg, because he can make some plays. Anthony Davis can. You've got all these different types of playmakers. They'd have to play a different type of offense than like the one player pounds the rock that we've seen in the past, or that a lot of teams have been running. But you get a 6'9" player with a 7'1" wingspan who is going to be 18 and a half at the draft. He reclassified, so he's young too. He's coming in younger than Luka did when the Mavs got him. And so you get this young guy who's ready to win right now. This is the one sentence explainer from Rafael Barlow, Locked on NBA Big Board, which now will be an everyday listen. That will be an everyday listen for us whenever they talk about Cooper Flagg. He said, at 6'9", Flagg brings a combination of skill, versatility, and explosive athleticism that fills arenas and can handle the ball and operate at the high post, where he's a gifted playmaker, showcasing a knack for finding open cutters and easy scoring opportunities. Then he says, on the defensive end is where Flagg is special. He's the most dominant high school defender I've ever scouted and epitomizes the term game changer.
You can stay up to date all year on the Dallas Mavericks by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Mavs on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Your Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, the Knicks have almost put Boston to bed, and now the Celtics could be facing life without Jason Tatum for quite a while. Before we get to that, NCAA President Charlie Baker is down for anything. The NBA playoffs roll on, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting easy, whether it's picking my favorite teams or diving into player props, from three-pointers to steals to assists. There's so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into same-game parlays for a chance to win big. I've got some action on the PGA Championship this weekend. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. After rallying against Boston, the Knicks are one win away from reaching the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since 2000. Locked On Knicks recapped a thrilling Game 4, at least for New York.
An incredible win that maybe nationally some of the discussion will be marred by Jason Tatum getting hurt. Hopefully he's all good. Guy played an incredible game. But Alex, that was the best game in my 23 years that I've seen the Knicks play. It was the most important game I've seen them play. And even before that injury, 3 minutes left, the Knicks, despite being down by as many as 14, early in the second half, were able to extend the lead to 9 on the Boston Celtics. And I think like everything we've talked about all year in terms of what this team could be was proven outright in terms of a ceiling. Like they took the defending champions who were shooting the crap out of the basketball, who their best player having like a signature playoff performance, and Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges, and frankly, this entire starting lineup that I doubted, that we doubted, that many rightfully doubted based on how they've done for the last few months, and they kicked their butts for 24 minutes. And Jalen Brunson was the best player on the floor in a game featuring Jason Tatum playing the best basketball of his life. And I don't really know what to do with myself, but the Knicks are somehow, some way on the brink of knocking off the Boston Celtics.
NCAA President Charlie Baker says he's up for anything, even a proposed college sports commission backed by President Trump. Speaking at ACC meetings, Baker said the interest from the White House shows how front and center college athletics have become, especially with looming legal battles and ongoing name, image, and likeness chaos. Whether a presidential commission would actually solve anything is still unclear, but Baker put it bluntly: creating clarity one lawsuit at a time is just a really bad way to move forward. The Hurricanes are a win away from the Eastern Finals after going up 3-1 on the Caps.
Another slow start sinks the Capitals in Game 4. Hi, this is Dan Homey of Locked On Capitals. Well, the Caps were hoping for a bounce-back win in Game number 4, but they fall 5-2 and now face elimination on Thursday night. The Caps can't cash in early on power play chances, and the offense struggles. The Capitals just cannot string together. There's no crisp passing, no tape-to-tape passing. It was just all sorts of ugly out there. Later in the game, though, a third period spark. Matt Roy finds Jacob Chikrin wide open, and the Capitals pull within one. That was the moment I thought maybe the Capitals could ultimately do it, but that wasn't the case. Taylor Hall answers with a breakaway goal, and Alex Ovechkin, who has been silent in the second round, scores a classic one-timer, and the feeling was maybe the Capitals have what it takes to win this game, but ultimately the momentum favored the Hurricanes, and now the Capitals are up against it. They must win on Thursday, or everything that they've worked for all season is over. I'll have much more on this for you later on Locked On Caps.
And in Major League Baseball, the Detroit Tigers are on fire.
Going to be a pretty good night for Detroit if you are a standings watcher in May. My first thought is, what an effing response from this team, man. And I think that is one of the most important values. Sounds far too dramatic, but one of the most important things is probably too generic the other direction, that this team does on a consistent basis. Attributes, maybe, sure, that this team has is their ability to respond to losses.
The Boston Celtics came into Game 4 at Madison Square Garden with a chance to even the series. The Knicks left with a 3-1 series lead and major questions about the short-term and maybe the long-term future of the Boston Celtics, with Jason Tatum collapsing in the final minutes in a great deal of pain. As we record this, we do not know the status of Jason Tatum. John Corrales from Locked On Celtics is at Madison Square Garden. He joins me now, and John, the outcome of this game is going to feel, I think, in a lot of ways, secondary to the future of Jason Tatum and that injury. Let's start with the game, because when Tatum got hurt, the Celtics were already losing the game, and I don't want to say it felt like it was over, because we've seen crazy things happen in this series.
Sure, yeah.
But this was once again the Knicks coming back late to take control of this game.
Celtics had a lead, 14-point lead. And like all game long, the Celtics built a lead. The Knicks made a run. The Celtics responded. And that was kind of how the whole game went until the Celtics took their 14-point lead. And the Knicks made a run, and just the Celtics never responded after that. It's uncharacteristic, but you also had a bad Jaylen Brown game. You had a bad Kristaps Porzingis game. And the shots stopped falling, shots that were falling early on. Tatum was kind of the only one that was keeping him close. So he was hitting some really crazy shots. If the Celtics had won this game, this might have gone down as one of, Tatum's all-time playoff performances. His defense was incredible. I think he had like 4 steals and 2 blocks. It was an all-around game for him, which makes the injury an added shame. But, it's just kind of hard to explain how the Celtics, when the Knicks get into that mode of they can't miss, and Brunson had a huge third quarter, there's just the Celtics can't find that defensive stop. They did it in Game 3, but outside of that, they haven't in Games 1 and 2, and now in this game, they haven't found that thing, that stop, that series of stops, rebounds. Mitchell Robinson was huge in this game for getting second chances. The second chance points killed the Celtics. So that's a problem, and they just have not been able to solve it.
Yeah, through 4 games, the Celtics have had a 14-plus point lead in all 4 games, and they're losing the series 1-3 at this point. That is a pretty remarkable place for them to find themselves. They still have Jaylen Brown, who was the MVP of the finals last year. Drew Holiday has been through these moments. Derek White. There's this Kristaps Porzingis. He's sick. He's not 100%. We're not quite sure. But there's still plenty of guys on this team. What do they have to summon in Game 5 to try and salvage this series?
Look, the Celtics have actually played fairly well without Tatum in limited games. Jalen has to be a distributor, and that's one of the things that when he has had the ball to himself without Tatum, over in the regular season, he had done a good job of being a distributor and getting other guys going. He's going to have to do that. He's going to have to be the focal point, because I would expect the Knicks to double team him and throw a lot at him. I don't think he has been his best in this series. So he's going to have to find something within him that allows the Celtics to kind of rise up, because he's going to need to get everybody going. He's going to need to set up Derek White. He's going to need to set up Drew Holiday. He's going to need to set up Porzingis and Horford. He's going to have to be the main guy. In some ways, this is a situation, not because of the injury or anything like that, but Jalen relishes these opportunities. I know everybody was really, really down after this game for, obviously they lost and they're on the brink, and obviously the Tatum stuff. I think when they wake up tomorrow, there's going to have to be some resolve, and Jalen's just going to have to be like, look, I have to play my absolute best. I'm going to have to do a lot of things, and he's going to have to find a way. They do have enough. They do have enough to beat the Knicks in Game 5 and then go from there. But it's going to take a much more perfect effort than they've been giving.
Understanding that the Tatum injury maybe clouds this a little bit, but let's say they just lose this game regularly, and they go on to lose the series. What is it that this team needs to look for to move forward, to reshape, retool? Because it seems like they're going to do that this offseason, given the bill that's going to come due here.
Yeah, look, this has been like an underlying story for the Celtics all year long. This is the last we're going to see of this group, and it's kind of a shame that this is how they're going, because I don't think they're aware of, or they haven't played like, hey, this is our last chance. So what, Porzingis might be gone, Drew Holiday might be gone, one, both. You can go, there's questions about what Jaylen Brown's going to do. There's a lot of questions here about what the Celtics are going to be moving forward. And so Al Horford is a free agent, and he's in his late 30s. He's pushing 40. He's got 5 kids, as Jaylen Brown was yelling in Game 3. Yeah, so, there are a lot of questions about the Celtics. This was supposed to be the get one more, go back-to-back, finish this job, and next year was when they were coming down to the pack. So for this, if this is how they go out, this is going to be extraordinarily disappointing, because it is definitely a premature exit.
Stay up to date all year on the Boston Celtics by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Celtics on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, Giannis is open-minded about leaving the Milwaukee Bucks. On Monday morning, ESPN's Shams Charania dropped what seemed like a bombshell in the NBA, that Giannis Antetokounmpo was, for the first time in his NBA career, at least considering life outside of Milwaukee. At the time, it seemed like the biggest story in sports. And by the end of the day, it was like the third weirdest thing that happened in the NBA. Camille Davis from Locked On Bucks joins me now. And Camille, I know that you and a lot of Bucks had the same reaction that I did when this was first reported. And that was, so the last 5 years of all of the Giannis nonsense seems like that's exactly what it was.
Thank you. Because if the report this time is that it's the first time in Giannis's career where he's really considering a future outside of Milwaukee, what have we been doing the last 6 years? Before each of the two,
a lot of content, I'll tell you that.
I'm telling you. But I mean, I will say this to that. I do think that at this particular junction in the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis relationship, I could see why Giannis might be more open-minded to the prospects of leaving Milwaukee than he ever has before. But I think the initial reporting is just trying to, run up some clicks from some likes there. But it's something to consider, because for the first time, this is a Bucks team that, has not been dominant in the regular season, has not gotten out the first round in the last 3 years. So I can see the why.
And I think for Bucks fans and NBA fans who are paying close attention to this situation, it makes sense, right? Damian Lillard, unfortunately, tore his Achilles in the postseason. He's likely going to be out all of next year. And that puts a huge huge black cloud over this organization for the next year. Giannis has said over and over he wants to compete for championships. So being able to sell Giannis on being able to do that in Milwaukee was always going to be predicated on the team having some sort of plan, right? So put yourself in John Horst's shoes. What is the pitch? What is the pitch to Giannis to say, hey, let's make this work here?
What I've been saying on Locked On Bucks is that I think that the pitch is it's a 2-year plan right now. Okay. This year, we're going to look to bring back what we saw work last year. We saw that you on the court surrounded by versatile shooters who can defend is the way to go forward. We saw that you with the ball in your hand is the way to go forward. We can build this offense going forward purely around you. You initiate more often, kind of like you did to end the season when Dame was out with the blood clots. You bring back Gary Trent Jr., find a way to get Kevin Porter Jr. back, extend AJ Green. You have some really valid shooters. Bring back Ryan Rollins. You have some pieces there where it's like this year, you might be just fighting to make it to the playoffs, stay on, in that play-in range. But next year, with a little bit more cap space, with Dame's contract being expiring, with Kuzma's contract being expiring next summer, then we look to make a move. That's the way I would pitch it to Giannis.
Okay, we don't know at this point whether the scales have tipped, right, about Giannis's future. Maybe Giannis hasn't even decided. I would hope he would give the Bucks the chance, just like I would hope any superstar would give their team the chance to make their pitch. I would think Giannis would want to do that. But if there is something out there that if you're Bucks ownership, that would make you say, okay, he's willing to move on here. This would make sense for us. Give me some teams and maybe a potential trade proposal that you think would make sense for both sides here. Because the problem, Camille, is if you're trading for Giannis, you got to give up a lot of stuff. Exactly. And he wants to win titles. So we saw like the Carmelo Anthony trade once upon a time. Everything that the Knicks had to give up to get Carmelo hurt their team building. So is there a team that you think strikes that balance?
Yeah, there are a couple. And before I even answer, I want to be very clear. I do not think that the Milwaukee Bucks should trade Giannis unless Giannis himself says, I want out. Otherwise, you keep finding ways to retool around him. But especially with like the outcome of the draft lottery today, I think that the Spurs have gotten even a bit more interesting. I could see Giannis being interested in being paired next to Wemby and the future that might be for them. So the Spurs seem like a team that could be really interesting, where they come up off of that number 2 draft pick, Stephon Castle, Vassell, whoever else needs to be in there to make that money work could be an interesting one. And Houston, that's the team where it keeps coming up like Amen Thompson, I think, would have to be the centerpiece in that trade, plus a lot of assets back. So Houston and San Antonio are the two that I'm really looking at. But if the Pelicans could find a way to get in there as well, so the Bucks can get back some of their draft capital, so that if they're bad, they can at least be rewarded for it, that could be interesting as well.
And that's the piece that we haven't pointed out here, right? That they don't control their picks next year. They don't control their picks for the foreseeable future. So they can't do the thing where they're like, all right, we'll trade Giannis and then tank because they don't have their picks.
Right. Right. So it's like you can tank, but you're going to be relying on the picks that you get back from that Giannis trade and not based off the own merit of what the team does. So for the Bucks, it's like you're going to be in a position where you might as well just keep trying to win games if that's the case. But if you can find a way to get those picks back from the Pelicans and maybe even some from the Blazers, however you can try to finagle that trade, like that would be the most beneficial way forward if Giannis did request a trade.
And finally, let's circle back to the whole Mavs winning the Cooper Flagg sweepstakes thing. Dallas had just a 1.8% chance to win the lottery and jumped 10 spots to grab the top pick, the biggest move by any team in lottery history. Look, I understand they have journalists. They're watching. They felt the ping pong balls. It would be a federal crime to rig the lottery. But I will forgive any fan that sees the Mavericks trade Luka Doncic to LA of all places, to LeBron of all teammates, and then get the number 1 pick and go, it feels rigged. I would forgive you for believing that today. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, are Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs going home early? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on Sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.